55, 56 at that point, again, it might make sense to look at this, or you might have to wait another year or two for your pension income. For those that are in their 50s or early 50s, 40s and 30s, sorry guys, if you weren't aware of it, we do have to wait another couple of years before we can access our UK pension structures at all. And only then, once they're accessible, does this option come out about restructuring some of those funds in the way that I've described. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted to keep it short and sweet, concise, and hopefully valuable to you, so you can understand where it's coming from, what the changes are. If you've got any questions, please do ask them now through the Q&A button, or alternatively via Facebook Live, and we'll do our best. Or drop me a WhatsApp now, and I'll do my best to answer them. Obviously, if you haven't got my contact number, you can just scan this QR code if you're watching it on a laptop and send me a WhatsApp now. And just a reminder, like I said, all the way through this, this is very much an informative presentation, information purposes only. It does not construe advice. We recommend that all clients seek a bespoke tax position consultation with qualified tax consultants before taking any action. So let's park that there for now and see if there's any questions that are coming through online now. Okay, so I think I've got one that's just coming through here. Okay, all right, so this is a question from Richard on WhatsApp. Okay, so Richard's asking, how do you go about getting tax-free income on a UK pension? So the process, this is really something that we don't do all day, every day. So what we have to do, first of all, is make sure that we have what's called an NT code in place. That's a process that we work on with a tax specialist that will go and liaise with SARS and HMRC for you. They'll go and do all of that. And then once that's in place, then what we can do is apply that to the pension structure. Quite often, though, what we do is we also review, while that process is going on, the pension you've got in place. You might have multiple pension pots dotted around from different jobs in the UK. And quite often what we'll do is we'll consolidate those into one simple structure. Why? Because if you've ever had to deal with UK pension providers, you'll quite often find they don't like speaking to expats abroad. There's normally a lot of very strenuous questions around who you are, what you're doing, all that sort of thing. And it makes it very challenging to get answers out of them. Also, most of the pensions that we review are fairly homogenized. They're in the same fund as several hundred other people, if not thousands of other people. And generally speaking, they're quite risk averse, and they might also not be tailored to your stage in life and your risk profile and what you're trying to achieve. So what we do is we will review that. We'll give you a red, amber, green report to simply tell you, what our recommendations are. And then quite often what we'll do is we'll replace a UK pension structure with another UK pension structure that's designed for expats that are living abroad, like John and Mary in that example. And then we just realign the assets. And then we, as the advisors here based in South Africa, sit with you every quarter, update you with what's going on in the markets, but also make sure that when you get to 55 or 58, 57, as I said earlier on, 2028, you can get that income in South Africa tax-free. So hopefully that answers your question there, Richard. Okay, moving on, I've got a question here from Mark, again about the IHT aspect. I think this might be more of a rant than a question. So what Mark is basically saying is, how dare they around the inheritance tax point. Everyone's been using UK pension structures for years. A lot of people have diligently saved, and now all of a sudden, something that they thought they would be able to pass on tax-free to their children, suddenly, there's going to be a tax bill and the government are going to take a portion of it. Well, first things first, Mark, I would say we need to understand, are you above the limit for IHT from 2027 onwards? Because if you're not, it might be a non-issue. Okay, so that's the first thing. Secondly, if you are above that limit, we've got 3 years to do something about it. Okay, and obviously I don't know your age, but if you're over the age of 55, or 57 in the future, then one of the things that we might consider doing is taking an income payment tax-free only after that process that I talked about earlier has been completed. And then what would we do with that? Well, that's where the advisory bit comes in. There's a lot of different solutions where we can keep it in pounds or other primary currencies and put it in some form of structure that is designed to fund your retirement here in South Africa in a similar way to the UK pension, but also it wouldn't be subject to either a UK IHT charge or potentially South African estate duty. But there's a lot of components that we would need to assess to see if it was appropriate for you before we go down that route. So that's some of the tools that we might potentially use from there.